Hello everyone, it's Catalina here. I am making my first interview here with Tim Chambers. Tim is a life coach, a Qigong instructor, a Reiki master, licensed acupuncturist, licensed massage therapist, who holds a master's degree in Oriental medicine and also has a bachelor's degree in psychology. And I'm super happy to have him here because he has helped me a lot in my personal growth journey, especially by helping me change my mindset. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome. So should we start with the questions?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to know what came first. How did you start your journey with energy?
When I was young, like a child, I was raised by a very strong Catholic background, but I was always curious about spirituality from a young age, and I think around age 12, I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, which is a Hindu text. So that was a big influence on my life and got me into spirituality. And then from there, the Chinese medicine, the acupuncture kind of came into my consciousness. And it wasn't until many years later that I actually started to study it. I was a saxophone player. When I started playing saxophone around that same time. And I think I was heavily influenced by I was a jazz musician, and I was heavily influenced by John Coltrane. And he was a tenor sax player who had like a spiritual epoch in his artistic life.
Okay.
Where he went away from the traditional bebop jazz and went into this like real kind of spiritual mode. And so I really got into that. And also during that time, it was during in the 60s is when the Indian influence, the Hindu influence came to the United States. Like, there were like gurus and stuff who came over. And that's when this kind of all started. So when I was in my adolescence and early teens, it was in the 70s. So that had already kind of had an influence.
Oh, okay.
Plus, I had a bunch of older sisters, brothers and sisters who were not really into the religion per se, but they were into the culture, and it came through the music a lot. So that's kind of where I got hooked into energy through the spirituality aspect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Music can be really spiritual. It can be completely disconnected sometimes, but also it can be really pure.
Yes.
To your soul, kind of.
Yeah, and also when you think about it, music, like, you don't see it.
You don't see it, right? You just feel it.
It
or
is
hear it,
energy.
yeah.
It's the air moving in a certain vibration. That's what music is, scientifically. So it's like, you don't see the air either. You don't see the wind, but
Yeah.
it's there.
You know it's there. Yeah.
So.
And how many years have you been a life coach specifically?
Okay, so my life coach, that came, fast forward many years from there. And I'd say I've been a life coach now for about, I don't know, maybe 30 years. I've been around for a while.
And what is of the areas that you told me earlier that you made? You went through massage therapist, the acupuncture, this life coaching, the Qigong part. Which one of those parts are you more interested in right now?
I'm kind of shifting more into the coaching but using the principles of I guess you could say Oriental medicine, which Qigong is part of.
Right.
And actually Reiki is too, because Reiki comes from Japan.
Right.
So it's really a combining those modalities and the theories and the principles of Chinese medicine, and also the Taoists, who were priests. They kind of represented this spiritual aspect of Chinese medicine historically. And I combined that with modern psychology.
Right.
To kind of help my clients, to bring that effect.
Okay, so for me personally, I feel like the way you mix these worlds makes it less scary for me to. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I feel like for me personally, the way you mix these two areas made me feel less scared about going into energies and everything, because for the people that don't know about energies, it can be a little bit scary to first come with this and get to know about energies, but I feel like that's a good way to balance things out. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. The psychology, going into psychology in a formal way, gives people a little bit more something to hang on to,
Yeah.
And it really is a mixing of the worlds. It really is the East and the West. They look at things very differently.
Yeah, yeah, they do. I feel like there's a lot of ancient knowledge about energy that at one point, mostly West cultures like decided not to involve in energy. I feel like it's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing that's interesting historically, when acupuncture or Chinese medicine started to become popular in the West, it was during there was a historic trip of Richard Nixon, the President of the United States, 1973, went to China. In fact, I think Philip Glass wrote an opera called Nixon in China.
Oh. Okay.
So you even got an opera out of it. But that really was a moment where it opened up. China opened up culturally to the West,
Nice.
and part of what they exported culturally was acupuncture. Chinese medicine, but also acupuncture.
Mm.
And so China is a huge, vast country, we know. And there are many different regions, and there were many different types of traditional medicine, including different types of acupuncture throughout China. Also, the Taoists are ancient, and they were very, spiritually minded people. They lived their lives in nature. And so a lot of their concepts were kind of taken out of what the Chinese communists decided to export to the West.
Right, right.
And so they kind of took the different traditions and pared it down and made a system out of it. And they call it TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. But it's really their tradition. So, like, before the advent of this exporting of traditional Chinese medicine, there's all this other amazing energy-based medicine, et cetera, which didn't kind of make it through that vetting process,
Right.
And then now acupuncture has become much more mature, in the West since then. And so now people are kind of discovering more about the different techniques and strategies and philosophies of acupuncture.
Right.
Some are more energetic than.
It's been like the point to start for people to begin the journey of like, okay, I like medicine, I like acupuncture, but acupuncture goes a little bit farther,
Yes,
So,
it has
yeah.
both those aspects. The
Nice.
physical, you have a tight muscle, you can release it with the needle, and that's obvious in medical. But then there's this also kind of more, I don't know, esoteric or energetic type,
Right.
way to practice. So.
Nice. Going back to when you started this, when you were a kid,
Okay.
did you always feel like you had like this ability to listen to others and help, or was that developed with time and with your experience with energy?
Yeah, I mean, kind of yes on both of those. I did have that as part of my personality.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it's interesting that you bring that up, because one of the psychological principles that I base a lot of my work on with clients is that you're kind of formulated when you're a child, and you are kind of the child responds to the situation that he or she is in, i.e. the family.
Right.
And that's their whole world. So if you have like a chaotic family with a bunch of siblings and parents who are stressed out because they have to work too much, and all
Right.
this stuff going on, you as a child find a way to get your needs met, which are basic things. Obviously, food, clothing, but attention, from mom and dad.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like attention kind of equals love in that scenario. The older ones usually, or like the more aggressive ones with that type of personality, they just kind of go and take care of themselves. They're all with
Right, yeah.
the squeaky wheel theory.
Yeah.
But the ones who are a little bit more introverted have to find some other way.
Right.
So then as you grow and become an adult, you've already developed those skills.
Right.
So you kind of end up using those to sustain yourself and, as you mature.
So that helped along the way.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Yeah. Okay, now this one is more involved with your patients. What do you think people are usually looking for when they come to you?
Yeah, that's also a very interesting question.
Because for me, it was looking to change my mindset, looking for a change in like starting my personal growth. When I started in music and I was like, hey, I want to do this, I realized that I didn't believe in myself enough to put my own plans on top of everything else, And that's when I started working with you. So it helped a lot. And I feel like that's probably something that people search when they come for you, but I'm sure that there are different types of motivations here.
Yes, I mean, as far as coaching goes, coaching is a little bit different from like being a psychologist. So with coaching, it's more about like, what does this person want and how do we get them closer to that?
Nice.
And so it's a little bit, it generally moves a little faster in terms of the process. Obviously, there's a lot of psychology involved. Right. You could use, go from a more kind of behavior motivational aspect. Does this person respond to having somebody like, tell them what to do? Or do they respond from having somebody make a suggestion? You have to figure out your client's personality. Or you can go deeper, which I like to do, and get them, as long as the client is open to it, to sharing that level, you can go deeper into kind of like childhood and how what I was speaking about a couple of minutes ago, about what the family dynamic was about and how you develop that, how it works for them and how it keeps them in limitation.
Yeah. Because one thing is like the personality that you can have, but whether you like it or not, our surroundings are going to be like molding. No, it's not molding. Is that the word? I don't know the word. Okay.
Yeah, we're programmed.
We're programmed by our environment.
By our environment. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the single most important thing to understand about being a human. There are very few things in life where we actually have true liberty, Right. And that's one of the principles, concepts that I operate from. The only true freedom, the only true liberty comes from inside, And you can see examples of people who are super powerful with, very, very wealthy, and they're, not happy. That's why the spiritual aspect actually is the answer. And the way to get there is to go into your personality. You are expressing your soul in the world. Yeah. The creative process of that, getting to know yourself. And then once you have that going, and then you're really experiencing your soul path, then the spirit aspect is like deeper than that, and that's where the true liberation comes from. Yeah.
Going back to the Qigong, to me, it was very useful because I, for the longest time, was not really comfortable with being my true self. I would always get like different personalities depending on who I was with, because I thought that being my true self would always get just like rejection from people. And this left me with a lot of emotions being like stuck. And in the end, I ended up with irritable bowel syndrome, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And Qigong was the answer for me because that was the way to teach my body that exploding in stress was not the only way to release stress. I'm sure a lot of people have come to you that way.
Qigong is a physical exercise where you combine breathing and visualization with basically really simple body movements. And it's mostly done standing. So it's even more simple. Like you don't really have to get on the floor. You don't need any
Any stretches
apparatus.
or like
Yeah.
yeah.
So so and it's based on the principle of upper, middle, and lower. So in Chinese medicine, you have the upper part is the head and the third eye, which is the place of understanding also visualization. You know, what we see is what we try to create. The middle part is the heart. That's how you feel things, your compassion and your intuition to a certain extent. And then the lower part is called Dantian, and that's your vitality. So that's how you connect with the world, how you manifest. It has a lot to do also with magnetism, like attracting people, attracting situations, good situations in your
Right.
life. So, and then of course, on the level of the organs, as you were referring to, it helps to have all three levels in harmony. So harmonization is very important in Chinese medicine and in Qigong. You want all three levels and all the organs to be working well together, you
Right, yeah.
know? And so that's that's how Qigong can help you on a physical level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It did help me a lot, so yeah.
that's great.
Okay. Maybe I could cut this part, but for those who don't know, what is Qigong with basic words?
Right. Okay. So definition, chi or ki is basically it just means energy. Okay. So the idea of chi is it's a energy that permeates all things in manifestation. So everything in the universe has chi flowing through it,
Right.
but it's also made of chi. So the little mantra is I am in chi and chi is in me. I was just going to say that a lot of the like you're talking about long form content. This isn't really what we're talking about, but stuff comes back. Like this whole revolution of information technology
Yeah.
and social media is only this is like just it's like the first 6 months of a 80-year-old person's life. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just started. So the preoccupation with the short bursts of information that kind of stimulate a certain part of your brain and blah blah blah. Well, that's good because that's you get someone's attention,
Right.
and you can get like important information, facts or whatever out really easy, really quick.
Yeah.
But we think in different, we also enjoy the long form because it's more in depth
Yeah.
and it's less, like jarring mentally. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I think that's something that's starting to come back now.
Yeah. I have a final question.
Okay.
How would you say that energy work changed your life?
Okay. How has energy work changed my life? It's kind of hard for me to say that it actually changed my life because I've kind of been doing it since like forever, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So, like my journey, I played saxophone and I was a good saxophone player, jazz saxophone player. I was, very talented, if I may say so myself. And I got into college on a half scholarship in Washington, D.C. at Catholic University. And I was very, it was a combination of many things, but I was a little arrogant, and I dropped out. I dropped out, and I was like, I'm a jazz musician. I don't need college. I can learn.
Right.
I need experience. In playing and stuff. So that was not a practical move, but it certainly affected me. For many years, for a good 10 years anyway, because I was forced to go in to earn money to live on after I left school. I was no longer a student,
Right.
and so I had to do a lot of work, labor work, it was just whatever jobs I could get, playing saxophone, et cetera, et cetera. So then at a certain point, I gave up on that as a career, and that's when I went into healing work. And I started with massage because it was a practical way
Right.
to earn a living. And then from there, and I always knew and had in the back of my mind, this kind of spiritual energy healing stuff was something that was very primary for me. So as I built my massage practice, that's when I started to study the more energetic modalities, beginning with Reiki, actually,
Oh.
with your hands and hands-on healing and that kind of stuff. So, how has it benefited? I mean, it's really foundational to my work. And so it's benefited me on many different levels, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and in my practical daily life of, earning a living. And then as the years have gone on, the actual business of healing, the kind of like industry, if you will,
Right.
has expanded in some ways kind of exploded. So a lot of the terms that like in the 1990s we would use, me and my merry band of fellow healers, now are like part of the lexicon of normal day, every
Right.
day. You see it in commercials or that kind of stuff. So on that level, it's really interesting, to see that. I kind of feel like I was part of the inception of bringing healing into the everyday lives of people.
Right.
Um, so it's been, how has it benefited my life? How has it influenced my life? In a very fundamental way,
Okay.
foundational way.
Right. And how would you say it has helped your patients?
I think the patient in it, that's really kind of individual to each patient.
Right.
And I will say this though, I kind of give myself credit because I've always been very good in a kind of intuitive sense of knowing how open my client or my patient is to this introduction of a concept of energy.
Right.
So some people I don't, and we never go there. It's just, they're in pain, give them a massage. Or in my coaching work, they want to be more successful in relationship or in business. Okay, fine. Let's work on that level. What are the aspects of business that you need to develop, and how is your weakness, in that been informed by your early life? Boom,
Right.
let's go there. So that's kind of like my part of my strategy as I have gone along is like, keep your practical self, practical life, take care of that. It's important,
Right.
like in my philosophy, that's energy too,
Right.
it's just like physical energy, food, clothing, and a roof over your head,
Yeah.
and not everybody needs to um, agree with how you see it,
Right.
and so and also you can affect people energetically and they don't really even know it, or they feel something, they don't want to talk about it, so you don't really know how profoundly you've
Right.
affected somebody, and sometimes it's better to just let that be part of the river of life,
Right.
you know
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. 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 Well, for me, it was very. much a healing journey. I feel like allowing myself to be true to myself was part of what we worked on. And I still have some work to do, of course, but it has been life changing for me in the sense of changing my mindset to be able to get the ideas out of here and actually make them. So it's been really positive, and also changing my mindset has made me be more grateful. So life is more colorful that way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Gratitude
Yeah, well,
is so important, you
yeah.
know. And I'm grateful to you
Thank you.
for your work and your growth, and also what you've given to me as well.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, this was our interview with Tim Chambers. I would recommend for you to go check his website because he really helps a lot. He's really good at helping people. So you could maybe check his website, and I will see you. We will see you maybe next time. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.